Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bold Analysis. It is high time that we audit everyone, especially in terms of government expenditure. Just a day after the media raised a red flag on inflated budgets in the office of the president and that of the deputy president, there is a story here that I want us to look at, and so that we can outweigh who is right and who is wrong. Before we look at that story, I want to take this moment to ask you kindly to subscribe to our channel. For those who are watching us for the first time, also click the notification bell so that when we publish our videos, you will always get the notification and you'll not miss a single video from us. The then Deputy President William Samoei Ruto started campaigning in 2019. And then there was a thin line between state functions and his campaigns. Of course, for the first time, he was campaigning, launching projects, but President Ruto said we didn't want early campaigns. So President Uhuru Kenyatta said they didn't want early campaigns, and those events were stopped. Then Ruto activated his campaigns. So what happened? There were people who used to work in the office of the deputy president by then. They would accompany William Ruto in his campaigns, and of course were taking a risk. And because those events were political, personal events of William Samoei Ruto, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta said, or rather declined to pay their per diem. Of course, there was an effort to ask Uhuru regime by then to pay their per diem. Per diem ni ile pesa unalipwa per day ukienda event, ukienda nje, ukilala nje. So the per diem is supposed to cover your food, accommodation and that. So that per diem, Uhuru declined to pay those who were working in the office of deputy president, but they were accompanying the deputy president by then, William Ruto, in his campaign escapades. So what happened when William Ruto became the president? These officers, of course, they were junior officers in the office of the deputy president. They were overjoyed and they were happy that, of course, because now Ruto is the president, he's now going to sort them. According to this story that has been published by Pauline Njoroge, she's saying that Ruto used to pay them from his pocket, katudhao, wandhao, so that they would buy food and sort their accommodation. Of course, many would want to interpret it as a harassment that Uhuru declined to pay Ruto's junior officers, but this is the difference. These were not state functions. These were campaign events that were organized by William Ruto. So these junior staffs, when Ruto became president, they became happy that then the payments were done because the per diems will be done because they had accumulated. Now, according to what is now coming up, the money was allocated to the office of the deputy president so that these staffs could be paid their per diem. So I want you to get this story. Walipewa pesa, office allocation was done in the office of the now deputy president, now Rigathi Gachagua, so that that money would be paid. But according to reports, Rigathi has declined to pay that money and is saying that hiyo per diem kwanza ni mingi. Number two, why should they be paid while they were not on official state functions, they were on campaign rallies? But then he's also saying that walipewa ile 2,000, that Ruto gave them something, kidogo kidogo. So he has decided not to pay that money, and that money is now getting diverted to other activities in the office of the deputy president. Now, who is right here? What's your position? By the way, give us your thoughts. What do you think? Unadhani hawa watu wanafaa walipwe ama wasilipwe? And okay, on any position that you're going to take, I want us to look at it this way. Is Rigathi right not to pay that money even after the allocation is done? I will invite you to look at the Pauline Njoroge's Facebook page. She has published the whole story there of what happened. One thing I wanted to separate or rather differentiate here is that Uhuru alikataa kulipa kwa sababu alisema ni siasa. They were not state functions. But of course, this money was accumulating. Now, is the guy the right to deny, to decline paying this money? This, I want to interpret it in this other, I want to look at it this way. Why was the money allocated from the treasury to that office if they could not be paid, if they're not going to be paid? By the time the allocation was being done, was it, had they reached an agreement that hiyo pesa ende kulipwa? Because William Ruto, who was a deputy president by then, anajua history vizuri. He must have known because these were people that were working with him. And maybe after I may grow to the presidency, I may move to the presidency, they lost touch. But of course, he might have told them that nyinyi wekeni hiyo, ikiwa tutafaulu, mtalipa. We know that it will be unethical and irregular to pay people, or rather to pay staffs, because who are on political missions and are not on state functions, because the taxpayers' money should go on only the state functions. And so, why was the money allocated in the first place? Because was it a well-laid script for the allocation to be ballooned, or rather to be inflated, only for it to pursue other interests? Because I want to believe this, that if there was a clear intention not to pay them, basi the allocation hata ingefanywa, hawangepewa. Let's look at it the other way. Now, does it point to a Ruto Rigathi reading from different scripts as far as their respective office allocations is concerned? Just recently, there was a story here. I did not see people fact checking it. I've not looked into the nitty-gritties. But there was a contestation that Rigathi-Gachagwa's allocation in the office of the deputy president and that of Musalia Mudavadi alipewa pesa mingi compared to Rigathi-Gachagua. There was that discussion. I don't know whether that is true. But does it mean that they read from different scripts in terms of how much have been given and that? Because it can be a political activism. It can be a move that Rigathi has pulled just to tell Ruto that, look here, I'm in charge of this. So what is going on? The chief of staff ni yule bado mmoja tu mwenye alikuwa mwenye alichukua pale kwa yule mwenye alipass. He's still the same person. There is still the institutional memory. The data is the database is still there. But the fact that it can play out, these are people that campaigned for William Ruto. Let's now leave alone the issue of the law. Let's just use logic. Wale campaign for Ruto. Na kuna watu wengi wale campaign for Ruto ambao maybe pia wamesaidia, wamepewa do, wamepewa majob. So, regarding declining to pay, does it mean that they're not in returns? That's another thing. The other thing is this. This is one in the office of the deputy president. There are many others. I want to ask a question. Will it be opening a Pandora box on irregular payments that are being made? This is a per diem. Kama per diem imelipwa, kama per diem imelipwa, then how many payments that were supposed to be made to the political class or even to deputy president or by then that have been made? How many illicit transactions are going on, but they are covered? Because that should be the worry. That in moja tu, maybe some spy or some insider in the office of DP is just trying to raise the alarm so that it can get the attention of the country or the attention of the president so that the president will intervene. But that will be one. If there is an allocation to people who are not paid per diem, then how about other costs? Could this be pointing to illicit transactions that are done still for political expediency? And then, will political expediency cost us a lot of money if we are just going to pay people who, I want to believe, my position, I want to stand with Rigathi, that these people should not be paid. But again, I'm a bit reserved by, why did we even get the money in the first place, if this story is something to go by? Lastly, It is about time we audit the executive expenditure and review legislation on state on personal. Try to draw the red line between state and personal spending. But if you ask me, we should go for a one-term president or deputy president, so that and that should even cascade down there. Even a 7-year one term, I will support that. One term, or we find a way we ban that a president, and the deputy president should not, while in power, should not be involved in politics. We just decide that the same way other civil servants must resign, we should have a way we make a transition that 3 months or sometime general election is when they start campaigns, and we must look at it. It's very difficult to draw the line. I know it's difficult to get a legal prescription in it. It needs more of a personal responsibility or a personal discipline or the office discipline. But it's difficult to draw the line between in event ya siasa, because as far as is the president of Republic of Kenya, he's also the party leader of UDA. And again, he's in power and he's also looking for re-election. So he might attend a function that is supposed to be a UDA function in terms of let's talk of president maybe mobilizing some youth group somewhere. But as there, he's the president. So ile expenditure as a president is going there. It is not something new, because even in 2017 it happened when Uhuru and Ruto were together. They campaigned and they looked for votes. State resources were used. In 2022, we have already been seeing some shocking figures of the last day's expenditure of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So while we want to revisit on what Uhuru Kenyatta might have spent in his last days, but then don't we get a legislation, because we might still get there. That's the truth. We might still get there. Why don't we get a legislation on spending? But the best way to cut and to curtail it completely is to just ensure that a president, ukishapata term yako na deputy yako, there is no second term. You even improve it to 6 or 5-year term or 7-year term, but there is no second term. So that tukate ile mambo ya using state resources for politics. I don't know what will be it. What is being shown here is you're not trying to pay things. We must get our priorities right. I stand with Rigathi on this, but first, it was not even supposed to be allocated. That's my take.